What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Nehemiah, aka Neo, and today we're gonna be talking about some of the players that I'm going to be buying low on, some of the teams that I'm gonna be buying low on, and I think are gonna be selling high. In case you guys don't know what I'm talking about, we're talking about NBA stocks. Now, I don't think I'm the first person to trademark it. In fact, I'm pretty sure that there's an app that actually tracks NBA stocks. Ooh, let me just NBA stocks. There's like an app that's actually a really cool measure of how people are feeling about some certain players and some certain things. Hold on, let me just check something. I could not find that junk, but essentially what I'm talking about is just buying low on these players that I think that are just gonna rise up through the roof. So if you guys really want to talk about that, I'm really just gonna be talking about some players I'm gonna be high on, some teams that I'm even gonna be high on, teams that I'm buying low on, and I think that they can have potential to be buying high. Now, I could make a video of the opposite, but I'm probably gonna stick to the more positive side for this one. But if I do make a video of the opposite, definitely understand that it's not necessarily that these teams are bad or they're going to do, not really as good as people think. It's more so that I think that these teams could really just fall flat for a multitude of reasons. So let's just say a team like the Philadelphia 76ers. I think that they are actually going to be one of the best teams in the NBA, but there's also still a chance that Joel Embiid could get injured. Now, I'm not saying that I would definitely buy low on or buy high on this team, but like sell them high. Nah, I think that this team is still going to be one of the better teams in the NBA. I think a better comparison for a team that you think that is going to go high, but it's probably going to go lower, is probably going to be probably the Brooklyn Nets, actually. So yeah, first thing I want to talk about the Memphis Grizzlies, or not the Memphis Grizzlies. Actually, I want to talk about these guys first because I've been seeing that some people think that this team is going to be a seventh seed. This team was a second seed last year. I don't understand why people think that this team is just gonna suddenly fall off. Like, Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to come back within the next month or two. It's not like he's gonna be out for a majority of the season. Not only that, but this team is still solid without him. They have a guy like uh, Xavier Tillman. He's a really good center. Actually, I really like him on the floor. They also have a guy like Zaire Williams. Like he's also a pretty good shooter. I don't get it. They have a guy like John Morant, an All NBA second team. And if not, he probably could have been first team if he was actually playing a lot more games. I don't know. Brandon Clark, like they just have a lot of players that they could really just use. And I heard that the argument that this team is not lengthy, bro. These guys are like 6'8" and above. Like, what are we talking about? And even if you got guys don't think that they're lengthy, just think about it like this. My boy John Morant is still the most athletic player the athletic point guard in the game right now. And I just don't think that it's really that close. A guy like Brandon Clark is also really athletic. Like, I don't get it for why people are just doubting on this team. It's probably just because they're a young team. But thinking about it like this, what do you guys think that this team is going to get worse at? I don't think that they're going to get worse at anything. In fact, I think that they're just going to get better at everything else. The only somewhat good reason is that you could say that a team like Denver, Minnesota, the New Orleans Pelicans, and the Clippers, they all got better. Like, maybe that, and I would maybe give it to you, but at that point, you're still just saying that you expect a team like the Minnesota Timberwolves to finish higher. I don't know. I can't say that. Like, yeah, Rudy Gobert does give them a lot more wins, but I think that John Morant and what this team has shown last year is that they are still a really good team with or without John Morant, with or without some of their key players. I just don't get it. And the amount of winning that they've done last year is just very, very underrated. And the fact that we're still having this conversation, especially after people were saying that these guys were going to be a playing team or not even make the playoffs last year, is ludicrous. Like, what are we talking about? I just think that the Memphis Grizzlies train is still very low right now. I'm buying all of that right now. In fact, I think that they have a more likely chance to get into the finals than a team like Minnesota, the New Orleans Pelicans even. The Clippers and Denver, they got that though. I'm sorry. I think that that's probably going to be a conference finals matchup, if not semi-conference finals matchup. But, actually, I want to check up one thing for the Memphis Grizzlies. Let me just do one thing. Like their championship odds are actually pretty solid. I didn't know that. Yep. See, the betting odds are pretty cool, but like the player odds, like the people who you see on Twitter, like they don't feel that way. Also, shout out Ben Simmons. He was actually putting work against Giannis. Yes, it was a preseason, but let's just call it a spade a spade. He did do some work on Giannis. Next team is the old New Orleans Pelicans team. Now, I think that a lot of people are actually buying like pretty high on this team. I am too, but I just want to say one thing specifically. I think that Zion Williamson, more so than anything, is probably gonna break out this season. Like, I think that he's gonna have a Ja Morant type of season this year, where he just kind of just bumps up from everything that we've already seen. I'm gonna talk about Nikola Jokic and Jovic. My fault. Nikola Jovic. All right. So my boy was playing in the preseason, and he's been really solid thus far. Really good shooter, and I think that he's probably going to be the starting four right now. And if he's the starting four, I think that he's going to get an ample opportunity to really improve his game. And we could really just see a really good rookie season from this guy. And I think that it could be very similar to a guy like Io DeSumo on the Chicago Bulls, actually. And I really think that that's going to be very beneficial for a team like the Miami Heat, who really need a four next to Bam Adebayo. So I think that that's going to be really great. And I think that that's really all I need to talk about him. But yeah, now my boy Sexton. Now I don't know why, but people really don't believe in my boy. Like he's hold on, let me just pull up some stats real quick. His shooting in the layup is insane for a guard. And yeah, you could be like, oh, he doesn't shoot really well outside of there. I don't care. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Even if he doesn't shoot the best from any other place, he's still just creating a lot more shots from anyone else. And you maybe be like, oh, he's not the best playmaker. I don't care. I don't care. Like, I'm gonna be completely honest. If you like a guy like Jalen Brunson, but don't like a guy like Colin Sexton, I'm gonna just be completely honest with you. I don't know what you're talking about, especially when he's a solid shooter. And yes, these numbers are definitely kind of low for a good shooter, but he's still not the type of guy that you're just gonna leave wide open all the time. He's not like a Giannis, so that's very that's very corny for me. I think that that's really bad for someone like that. And also, Colin Sexton playing the three is kind of ridiculous. That is actually that's funny actually. But yeah, I'm just thinking that Colin Sexton is just gonna be really good this season, especially because he has pretty much the full reign of the offense at this point. I don't think that Mike Conley is gonna be carrying the ball nearly as much, so that's gonna be a really good plus for them. What else? Also, one thing about Colin Sexton is he's probably one of the best rim finishers as a guard. In fact, I probably put him like top five. He's able to really consistently go to the rim, and that's really what you want to see from a lot of these offenses. As I've said before, rim pressure just creates so much, uh, really chaos at the forefront of the defense that they have to really adjust on the spot. The best thing that they can do is not give up a layup, and that's really what Colin Sexton is all about. He's really just getting to the layup line, and the reason why that we can really just see why rim pressure is really successful is because of a guy like Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert is notorious for some reason, he's notorious for being a bad playoff defender. When really it's Donovan Mitchell and the whole squad that he's always been around. But let's just say that that's not the case. Even then, when a guy who's getting beat off the dribble is about to get a layup, that's the reason why Rudy Gobert just slides down and he's able to at least deter the layup. Now, that does honestly make a really good difference, but there's still a chance that that pass could be to an open three-pointer. And that's the reason why you really want rim pressure, because it just creates open shots for people at the key, at the three-point line, on the wings. So, yeah, that's the reason why I'm really high on a guy like Colin Sexton. That, and he could possibly be traded this year. And if he is, how old is he? He's like 24. Yeah, he's going to be 24 in January. So I think that this is going to be a really good breakout season for him. Also, there's another player that I want to talk about. Well, not really want to talk about, but I'm probably going to talk about. It's probably going to be the dude from the Spurs. And you guys probably know what I'm going to say, Keldon Johnson. We don't need to talk about Keldon Johnson. We know what he's about to be about. Oh, speaking of that, there's also another player that I really want to kind of emphasis. Now, my most popular video, at least for a long-term video, is a video about the Houston Rockets. And I think you guys really know what I'm going to be talking about. But Jalen Green is probably going to be a 25-point per game scorer this year. And I know what you guys are saying. Oh, that's going to be ludicrous for a guy like Jalen Green to do. No, it's not. When we look at how he played in the later half of the season. Let's just go from here. The boy was already averaging 23 points per game on some great efficiency. I expect him to average that the whole way through. If not, just have like an ant type of year where he does just increase by a point or two or four. And then he just does have similar efficiency. So yeah, I think that that's another key player to do. What's another honorable mention? Because I do have a couple off my mind. There are a couple players with the Portland Trailblazers like Shaden Sharp. Or is he? I can't find. Oh, there he is. Shaden Sharp has been really, really solid in the preseason. So that's something that you really want to look at. Maybe the Minnesota Timberwolves, depending on how you feel about them. I would say that Detroit as a whole maybe could be on this list, but the only reason why is because I don't expect them to make the play-in. I think for the rest, the East, I think everyone understands that the East is probably the better conference this year, or at least the most competitive conference this year, and I think that's going to be something that's really kind of marked up upon. But I think the last player that I'm going to be talking about, at least for right now, is going to be Franz Wagner. Now, for y'all who don't know about my boy, he was probably the third or fourth best rookie last year, and no one talks about him because he's on the Orlando Magic. But his preseason has been phenomenal. It's been phenomenal. And we could just pull it up right now. Let me just do a couple more things. Oh, wrong one. But the thing about Franz Wagner is that he just does everything. He does everything pretty good. And with a guy like Paolo being on this team now, there's a chance that he may get a lesser role. Also, speaking of the Memphis Grizzlies, shout out my boy Desmond Bane. He is also a player that you guys should buy very good stocks on. He's the next great best big man, or not big man, 3-and-D. But looking at my boy Franz, look at this. So a couple of his games recently for the preseason, yeah, it looks like he doesn't do much. But what you really want to see is the assist number. The assist number, just the overall shot creation, and the lack of turnovers for him is really what you really want from this team. And you could be like, oh, well, he may get replaced by a guy like Paulo Banchero. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but I think that these guys are actually going to play off really, really well from each other. And it's really good that he's the 4 and he's the 3. And I think that as a somewhat great playmaker, especially for a guy like him, don't be fooled by the 2.9 assists. He's a much better playmaker than that very well implies. But yeah, I just think that this guy, he's been underrated for pretty much a majority of the season. He's definitely a top 100 player. If you think that a guy like Cade Cunningham is a top 100 player, especially a top 50 player, this dude is definitely a top 75 player. There's no way you could say something about that. But yeah, I think that's really it. Let me just look at if there's another really good team or player out there that I think that could really just benefit from just being bought low. Actually, that reminds me. The Atlanta Hawks and the Cleveland Cavaliers are teams that you probably should buy right now. Like, I'm not going to lie. The Atlanta Hawks in this preseason have looked almost phenomenal, and there's a good chance that they're going to stay that way. So, yeah, I think that's it for me, though. It's been your boy, Nehemiah, a.k.a. Neo. I hope you guys are having a great one.